Looking for a new pair of cowboy boots? Check out Tecovas. Tecovas is a Western wear company, and they're opening a store at the King of Prussia Mall this month. Tecovas boots are handmade and known for being stylish and comfortable. Some of these cowboy boots remind me of what my grandpa Willie would wear when he rode his horse and taught inner city kids all about cowboy life. The Tecovas grand opening party will be Friday, June 28th through Sunday the 30th. Grab a drink and get fitted by a pro. Find out more and see what catches your eye at tecovas.com. That's TECOVAS.com. See y'all there. Today on CityCast Philly. It's Friday, y'all, which means we're rounding up the biggest news stories around Philly. Why there's more police in Kensington. What's next for the SS United States? Plus, I want y'all to think about this. If Philly statues came to life, who would win in a fight? It's Friday, June 21st. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week is Abby Fritz, CityCast Philly producer. Hey, Abby.
Hey, Trenae. Thanks for having me on.
And Asha Prihar, Hey Philly newsletter editor. Hey, Asha.
Hi, Trenae. Happy to be here.
Y'all, it's been hot, real hot all week. We're currently under a heat health emergency. And the Office of Homeless Services declared a code red on Tuesday, which means the city is opening up more beds to unhoused people and getting people indoors. And the high temperatures are continuing. This weekend, it might get up to 100 degrees. So how are y'all staying cool?
I think for me, it's really about, making sure I don't overexert myself when I'm outside. And also just generally staying inside. Love AC. But I went to the grocery store earlier this week and I usually will walk there and carry my groceries back. But I was like, I'm going to get really sweaty. That's going to be gross. So I was like, I'm going to care for myself, even though it's not supposed to be a big trip. And I took a cart. So
there you go. Yeah, when it gets hot like this, I think in my brain, I have a mental map of the places that have really good AC, where I'm freezing. So this week I went to Ikea because they have great AC. You don't really have to buy anything. You can walk around. They have soft serve. I like the strawberry one. Yeah. And then I just hang out in the good AC. But then also I know, the W has a pool, and there's a lot of public pools and some places that you can go to try to cool off. I'm not super into swimming, so that's not my top priority, but Sip City put on a party last year at the W and it was $5 to go, so I did do that when it was hot last year. So maybe I'll look for something like that this weekend if I can finesse it.
That's great. I would just suggest don't go out between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you can. So that's when I feel it gets a little cooler and manageable to just take in the hot weather. But we'll have some links to resources in the show notes on how to stay safe in this heat. And keep listening for even more tips. But in the meantime, let's get into some news. So earlier this month, it was announced that new graduates from the police academy would be deployed to Kensington starting this Tuesday. The 78 new officers nearly triple the existing police presence. Wow. And the plan, according to the Inquirer, is that they will more strictly enforce laws, crack down on open drug use, and make more arrests as needed. This comes more than a month after the sweep of a homeless encampment in Kensington, and we talked about that on the podcast back in May. Abby, could you give a brief recap on that sweep for anyone who missed the news?
Yeah, sure. So quick little background on Kensington. The neighborhood is the center of $1 billion heroin industry, and more than 600 unhoused people live in the neighborhood. And the neighborhood does have some of the highest rates of violence in the city. That's all according to the Inquirer. Back in May, police and city workers dismantled a 2-block houseless encampment in the neighborhood, which resulted in a lot of criticism and confusion, especially because the outreach workers who were kind of meant to be leading the sweep didn't show up until later. That's also according to the Inquirer. So no one was arrested, and reportedly 59 people were connected with housing and recovery services. That's according to the city, but there's definitely like some skepticism if this would be a real solution.
I remember when Max Marin from the Inquirer came on the show to talk about it. That sweep almost, a lot of people were anticipating it. Then like when it actually happened, I think it still kind of like surprised some people too. Like people weren't ready, or they thought certain services would have been rolled out a certain way. So there was like some pushback a little bit too.
Yeah.
So going back to the events this week. So the new cops that are now in Kensington are a part of Mayor Sherrell Parker's multi-phase plan to shut down Kensington's open-air drug markets. Sergeant and police spokesman Eric Grip said that the focus would not just be on the people struggling with addiction, but also, quote, the dangerous sellers who contributed to the violence and instability. I know that a lot of people are invested in this community, community outreach, residents, business owners. So it's just been a lot of, heavy news on Kensington. According to the police department's plan, this crackdown in Kensington, they're going to really focus on the areas between E and Jasper Streets and Tioga Street to Indiana Avenue, and then they'll move to other parts of the neighborhood. Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel said that people in addiction will be given resources on recovery, but they won't be permitted to live on the street and openly use drugs. That's all according to the Inquirer, which, again, this is such a shift from the previous mayoral administration with former Mayor Jim Kenney. And, time will tell if this approach is effective. But there's also a lot of questions if an increased police presence will make things safer. I remember talking to Mensa Dean, staff writer at The Trace, which covers gun violence reporting, and he talked with residents all around, not just in Kensington, but all around like neighborhoods that are deemed like dangerous or, an increased levels of crime that happen there. And people have mixed feelings about this.
Yeah.
Some people appreciate cops, extra cops on patrol. Some folks say they themselves don't feel as safe. They feel like they're over-policed. So I think it's definitely mixed reactions on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you guys think about the fact that new cops are being deployed in this particular way?
Yeah, I mean, this is just... It does feel like Kensington, there's a lot of complexity and nuance in the issues that are facing Kensington, and it does kind of make me nervous that they're sending new people there who may have never had experience with dealing with anything in terms of being cops.
Yeah, right, this particular situation.
So it just makes me feel like, I don't know, I would rather there be more experienced people kind of heading this rather than less, but also maybe fresh eyes would help.
It's tough because I think also, we've spoken with some reporters at the Inquirer and, and they've told us like there's a real problem to like, keep people in this work. And people and, cops are overworked at times, and I'm sure sometimes feeling undervalued, not appreciated, and so it's just like you said, it's so complex. It's like so messy, but I'm wanting to see like if this was a good idea or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious if they have, in sort of preparing for this, been getting like some more specialized training on how to deal with these specific issues.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah.
More news of the week after the break.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Shifting gears, we got to talk about the news that broke this week about the SS United States. Now, this is that big old boat, ship, cruise ship, I don't know, that a lot of us know as the Ikea boat down in South Philly. Well, they got the eviction papers. They got to go. September 12th, a U.S. district judge made the decision earlier this week. And this was a culmination of a years-long rent dispute. This was huge. This 1,000-foot-long ship and once luxurious ocean liner has sat vacant at Pier 82 since 1996.
Wow.
That's when Atlanta was hosting the Olympics. Okay? I think I was a youngin'. Back in December, we talked with Jimena Condi, reporter at The Inquirer, about the legal issues the ship's owners were facing and ideas for the ship's redevelopment. But the clock is ticking. What do y'all think of this?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my first reaction was like, wow, they finally did it, because I know that this has been something that has been under discussion for a while in terms of like getting them out of there. And I was also kind of like, how do you just get rid of this big ship? Does it even like obviously it's floating, but like, can you still steer it? Like, does it still work? Like,
That's a good
when was the
question.
last time they took it out for a spin? Like, are they just gonna have to take it apart? Like, I had a lot of questions, I think, was my initial reaction about this.
I'm kind of sad because if they have to leave, or if a tugboat pulls it away September 12th, it's gonna look a lot different down there. But there were so many creative ways that could have been implemented to redevelop this ship.
Totally.
Housing options, restaurant options, museum options. That would have been so cool just to like walk on this thing and visit and learn about the history. So I don't know. I feel like also it could have been a great opportunity to maybe create new jobs, attract different businesses. It could have been an economic, I'm trying to think of a pun, like driving. Like it could have been, it could have drove economic, but you know what I'm trying to say. It could have did something.
Steering the boat of
Steering the boat to economic freedom.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. What a bummer.
Yeah, sad to see it go. I wonder where it's going to end up.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a like weird, like kind of like local icon. Like the fact that like if you go to the IKEA cafeteria, like I don't know, Abby, if you were looking at this when you were there earlier in the week, but they literally have like little like signs on the wall that are like, what is this boat? And like that explains like what the boat across the street is. Like it's like the view. I love going to the cafeteria and just like eating my chicken tenders and like staring at the boat.
It honestly feels like a fancy date. Like with your big boat, you sit by the window, you have your little Swedish meatballs. It's fantastic. It's very sad. They're gonna have to take the plaque down. Cry. So some other things that I read about this, the judge's decision kind of all came down to how the original agreement between the Conservancy and Penn Warehousing, which is the Pier 82 landlord, was interpreted. And it ended up being like good and bad for everybody, which is, according to the Inquirer, the Conservancy that stewards the ship doesn't have to pay all of the back rent, but they do have to get that ship out of there in 90 days. So the big question kind of is, where's it gonna go? Susan Gibbs, Conservancy president and the granddaughter of the ship's designer, said in a statement that, quote, the judge's decision gives us a very limited window to find a new home for the SS United States and raise the resources necessary to move the ship and keep her safe.
That is a very good point because although, it would have been cool to make it, all these different things. It costs so much money.
Yeah, very expensive. Ship rent is very expensive, apparently.
So what's next for this ship?
So it's kind of unclear what's next. The Conservancy said that it was launching an urgent campaign to raise funds for the move, and they don't know yet kind of where it's going. So we'll see. It would be cool if it goes somewhere not too far so I could go visit. Is there anywhere you guys would like to see it go?
I don't know. I mean, it's sad that Philly's losing it. I don't really have strong opinions on where it should go now. I know there were like plans where they like wanted to maybe move it to New York. That would be like
seems
pretty
ideal.
pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like if they have to like take it apart, it would be cool if they could, like maybe put some of the parts in the museum.
Yeah.
And maybe I know there's that sort of like a seaport museum on the waterfront.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah, and I know there's also like people love like little keepsakes from like stuff that has to be dismantled. So like it'd be cool if they like let people like maybe like buy pieces of the ship or something if they had to take it apart, which obviously like I think a lot of people would be sad about. But I mean, I think some people want to see the ship go. So who knows?
Yeah.
To learn more about the history of the ship, its legal and financial struggles, and even further back to its heyday when it used to transport celebrities and world leaders across the Atlantic Ocean, listen back to our interview with Jimena Condi. We'll have a link in the show notes. Speaking of the ship, I think we have to add the ship to this next list. Asha, you found a really interesting Reddit post. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So there was this post. It was originally on Washington, D.C.'s subreddit a few weeks ago. And it asked the question, if the city's statues came to life, who would win in a fight? And, if you think about D.C., that's interesting to think about because they have so many like monuments and all that. Well, I mean, Philly has lots of statues too. So,
definitely do.
Eventually this question made it to Philadelphia's own subreddit page. And people in Philly have kind of been discussing this question when it comes to our city. So I was thinking we should try to talk about this and pick our Philly public art fighters. So, we can expand this to anything in the public art realm. So think like statues, murals, like maybe like sculptures of inanimate objects, anything. Let's open the floor.
This is so much fun. There's like so many things going through my mind. I'm trying to run through all the statues in my brain right now and figure out who I'd want.
My first thought was when I spoke with council member Ketsi Lazada, and she told me that her favorite mural in her district was La Borinqueña superhero mural in North Square that honors Puerto Rican history. I feel like this superhero would kick some ass.
Oh yeah, definitely. The superhero would be a strong vie in the fight for sure.
Yeah, I love that mural.
I feel like I went to like who's armed, like who has the best mods, like you know what I mean? Like who's gonna stand a good chance? But I feel like my love of mysticism and fantasy and sci-fi and all that kind of came out. And I feel like the Drexel Dragon statue would kick butt.
That's a good one.
You can fly. You can breathe fire. He's pretty big. Right now he's on the corner of 33rd and Market. And he's 10 feet high and 14 feet long, weighing 4,100 pounds.
What?
Crazy. I'm sorry. He'd kick butt.
Could you imagine that thing flying around on Market Street? You're like, oh,
2 tons.
there's the dragon.
That'd be
my
awesome.
goodness.
He's also kind of cute and cartoonish, which I love. So
It would be like kind of out of a comic book.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Superhero fighting a fire-breathing dragon. Got it.
There we go.
Yeah, I feel like, I was thinking this through and my mind sort of immediately went to like William Penn on top of City Hall because that statue is so huge. It's like 36 feet tall.
Yeah.
Or like that big angel inside 30th Street Station, like the Amtrak station. And, there are also like some pretty tall murals too, like the one that Trenae named. And also there's that one of like Dr. J on Ridge Avenue, although I guess Dr. J isn't a superhero. But really, I think that like the sort of premise of this question might depend entirely on whether we're thinking of this as like an everyone for himself like sort of battle, or if it's a situation where like different statues or like pieces of art would like band together. Because, I was thinking there are actually a ton of statues of military generals in Philly. And a lot of them are located pretty close to each other. So they could band together pretty fast. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe they would start fighting with each other about like who's in charge.
Who's in charge, right? I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge.
Yeah, so there's like just behind the art museum, there's like this whole collection of statues that are like Revolutionary War generals who I think could probably put up a fight. I mean, they beat the British. Like we're an independent country for a reason. And there's also like the sort of like monument to George Washington that's in front of the art museum, who, could be like a leader of them all. If we could do teams, I feel like I'd maybe put some money on them. I don't know, against a dragon though, or a superhero.
Just saying. Okay, I do have an alternate pick now that you said that though. I feel like all of the Benjamin Franklins could come together to create like one, like they'd all like join and create one massive Benjamin Franklin and like kick butt, and like even like the lightning bolt that's like a tribute to him could like come in and like get people, like, it would just be like one super transformer Benjamin Franklin. So
would Benjamin Franklin beat the dragon?
I don't know. I mean, if he controls lightning, he might have a better chance of some of the other people, though, because he could, like, zap them,
Yeah. And I mean, there's also that really big Benjamin. I mean, I don't know if this counts as public since it's inside a building, but there's, like, the really big Benjamin Franklin inside of
the Franklin Institute.
Yeah. Who's like, that's a big statue.
One? Yeah.
That one reminds me of the Abraham Lincoln statue at the Lincoln Monument, which I feel like that Abraham Lincoln could do some damage. He's huge.
Abraham's revenge.
All right, we have to talk about, I feel like Rocky. I don't know. Rocky compared to the Drexel Dragon, Rocky's getting his ass kicked.
Yeah. I
The
kind of
little
had that
punches
thought.
ain't doing it.
Yeah, he's just too small. Like, I mean, compared to all of these other options, like,
but he would make a movie about being beat, and it would be really good, so it'd be fine.
He's like, I gotta come up with the money idea out of this.
Exactly.
Okay.
what about like inanimate objects? Like, what do you think about? I'm thinking like, the love sculpture would kind of be toast, because like, how would it get around? Like, I don't know if you guys ever played like the like Monopoly CD-ROM game. I don't know. I played that when I was a kid, but like they have like the little animated pieces like bouncing around the screen in like very like weird ways. And I'm like, it would kind of have to do that to get around. And I just don't know that that's sustainable. Like, I feel like it would just get crushed by like something else, or like, lit on fire by the dragon. But I don't know, like Abby said, that big lightning bolt near the Ben Franklin Bridge, that has potential. Like, even if we're doing like everyone is solo, like it could shock everybody. Like, come on.
Literally. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, what about inanimate objects? Like, I feel like there's also a category of public art that wouldn't fight. Like, these are the peacemakers. So I'm thinking the Thinker at the Rodin Museum. I feel like he'd just be sitting there like, all right, let's think about a way to like end this war.
You guys know those giant ant statues that are on that like storefront on South Street? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know if I know those.
They're on some random storefront. It used to be like a punk store or something, but they're just these giant ants. And I feel like I would be fascinated to see them run around, but I feel like they just like go into the ground or something. Like they wouldn't like fight. Or maybe they would. Maybe it'd be like an Ant-Man moment, but I don't know.
We need to make a movie out of this. It's like Night at the Museum, but like Philly
edition.
outside version.
Philly outside, yeah. All right, well, these were great ideas. Thank you so much, Asha and Abby, for joining me on this week's Friday News Roundup.
Thanks for having me, Trenae.
Yeah, thank you.
It's time for the tip of the week, where we share a life hack for living in Philly. The heat is no joke, y'all. So while Philly is experiencing these high temperatures, the city is providing resources to help people escape the hot weather. You can check out the city's website to find a map of the public spray grounds and pools. Also, during heat emergencies, cooling centers are open in libraries, senior sites, and recreation centers across the city. We'll have a link to these resources in our show notes. If you have a tip of the week, we love to hear from you too. Call or text us at 215-259-8170. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Our producers are Abby Fritz, Lizzie Goldsmith, and Selena C. Reynolds. Our Hey Philly newsletter editor is Asha Prihar, and our host is me, Trenae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from All the Kimonos and James Weldon. If you enjoyed the show, this week of episodes, tell your dentist about the show. Leave us a review and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Philly. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.